There's one thing we wanted to touch upon is this idea of headless ERP that you talk a lot about. Can you describe what it is and where you see the ecosystem and the market going with that concept?
Yeah. And this is a little bit of a newer concept, so people may not be as familiar with it.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, tell us all about it.
The term headless. So if people are familiar with e-commerce, it's a sort of similar concept of headless e-commerce where you can really build your custom checkout flows and shops yourself with a bunch of tools in the background. And I think we have an opportunity, not necessarily short term. I think this is not a commercially viable necessarily product yet, but I think directionally over the next couple of years where this is headed is in that direction of a headless ERP. And what that means specifically, so today you have a general ledger software, it has AR, can send out invoices, recognize revenue, in our case like usage consumption based revenue, like it gets very complex and sophisticated, and then saves that information down into a GL or again into like breakdowns into the journal entry lines basically. Yep. A future state, and that all happens in Rillet and it's great, but in a future state you can imagine sort of a headless ERP that is really like the GL at its core that makes sure information gets saved in a compliant but also auditable way. So it'll be really important to be able to audit where all this information comes from. And then that way, instead of owning the whole end-to-end workflow there, empowers the marketplace around that of certain agents like, for example, built by Rillet or Upflow or other companies where agents then do the work, collaborate with humans very seamlessly around that, all in the context of a headless platform that kind of empowers, like bottoms up empowers these collaboration workflows between humans and agents. And in that future world, the ERP becomes a little bit headless and agnostic to whether you use an agent of that said ERP, an agent of an external provider, or some other agent to basically do your work as a human with this orchestra. But you always need a place where the information flows back to, where you could trace it, where it came from, that you could trust.
Yeah. It's really interesting because it feels to me that if you look at like the last 20 or 50 years of development, it's really similar to what happened with marketplaces where I've always been shocked so I come from France and in Europe where the idea of a marketplace is something that is still relatively new compared to what it is here in the US, where it's always been for the last 20 years, like you've been used to connecting your tools one to another. And I think we're getting now to what you're saying is that we're getting now to another layer, which is even better, and which is actually like this idea that you can connect all of these tools together. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see like how these different tools interact in a way where it's not about plumbing and connecting the APIs and everything as we're still doing in a way, but really in a seamless way. So I think it's going to be really exciting to see how this unfolds in that respect.